Madam President.
The Senator from Oregon.
Madam President, every day that I have the honor of coming to work in the hallowed halls of this building, a symbol to the country and to the world of America's commitment to liberty and to justice, freedom and democracy, I'm humbled. I'm humbled by the faith and responsibility that the people of Oregon have placed in me to advocate on their behalf. I'm humbled by the responsibility to exercise the power of this office, to use the opportunity to lift up all Americans, to create a foundation for families to thrive, to tackle significant challenges like human rights and global warming. But among all these responsibilities, one is the highest, which is to defend our constitutional republic. And in that Constitution, the single most important power given to every American is the right to a voice and a vote. A voice and a vote in the decisions of this government and the direction of our nation. As we saw all too clearly on January 6th, when this very building was attacked by a mob intent on burning the ballots of millions of Americans, democracy based on free and fair elections is far from guaranteed. Each generation, each new set of senators and House members has the responsibility to defend it anew. The sad truth, however, is that a violent mob storming the Capitol isn't the only way to attack our democracy. It can also be attacked by the quiet plotting of powerful and privileged individuals who hate the concept of government of, by, and for the people. And they work to undermine and corrupt the workings of our republic to produce instead government by and for the powerful. In his inaugural address, our second president, John Adams, remarked that we should be unfaithful to ourselves if we should ever lose sight of the danger to our liberties, if anything partial or extraneous should infect the purity of our free, fair, virtuous, and independent elections. Well, my friends, our democracy, our elections are being infected. Our elections are under siege from gerrymandering, which destroys the principle of equal representation. Our system is under siege from dark money, enabling billionaires and powerful corporations to buy our elections. It is under siege by state laws being passed week to week right now that target specific communities to prevent them from voting, thereby manipulating the outcome of elections. Indeed, in at least 22 laws have been enacted in 14 states since January to infect our free and fair elections, to deliberately erect barriers meant to make it harder for targeted groups of Americans to vote, to silence their voices of students and low-income Americans, of Native Americans and seniors, of Black and brown Americans, who have fought too long and too hard to have their voice and their vote stolen from them, ripped from them now. We have a responsibility as United States senators to ensure every American's freedom to vote, just as this institution sought to do more than half a century ago, when in this chamber we passed the 1965 Voting Rights Act. We have a responsibility to ensure that every American's voice is heard and that our elections reflect the will of the people. We can fulfill that responsibility by enacting national standards for voting to ensure that every American can have a say in the key decisions impacting their daily lives, a say expressed through the ballot box. That ballot box is the beating heart of our republic, and those who seek to erect barriers to citizens having access to it are committing a crime against our democracy. We have to stop that criminal action against the rights of Americans. We must create those national standards by taking up this bill, the For the People bill, debating it, and ultimately passing it to defend our Constitution. The For the People Act is comprehensive. It does popular, common sense things to put the American people back in charge of their government and their country. It sets national standards so every American has equal freedom to vote no matter where they live. In this country, if you are an American, you have the right to vote, plain and simple, full stop. It doesn't matter what your zip code is, or your income, or the color of your skin, or your religious beliefs. You have the right to vote. Many of the state laws restricting voting are designed to eliminate early voting in person or by mail, and we know exactly why. It is because the leaders in these states know how easy it is to manipulate the vote on Election Day. In these targeted communities, the state's leaders want to be able to decrease the number of polling places, reduce the hours, change the locations, put polling places in locations with limited parking, put out false information about the date of the election, and purge targeted voters from the roll of registered voters, knowing that when they show up on Election Day, it's too late to correct the error and be able to exercise their right to vote. The antidote to these horrendous, racist attacks on the freedom and right of every American to vote is early voting in person and by mail. And this act guarantees 15 days of early voting. It sets forth the opportunity to acquire an absentee ballot, to return the ballot by mail or through dedicated drop boxes. The second big goal in national standards set forth in For the People Act is to stop billionaires from buying elections. Elections in America are intended to reflect the will of the people, not the will of the powerful and privileged. Thomas Jefferson once described this as the mother principle, saying that governments are Republican only in proportion to how they embody the will of the people. If the mega wealthy can flood our campaigns with billions of dollars sent through shell companies, untraceable money, and manipulate the outcome of the elections, then Jefferson's mother principle is murdered because the outcome serves the powerful, not the people. The For the People Act says that people should have an equal chance of being heard, and that the people listening ought to know who's actually behind those voices and those messages. It does that by creating an honest ads policy, so political ads people see online have to disclose who's paying for them. And it does that by requiring the disclosure of mega donors contributing to political campaigns. Now, if you or I give a modest donation to a campaign, that campaign has to disclose who we are. Shouldn't the same thing that's true for an average American be true for the mega donors? This standard sets that equal standard. Third, the national standards set forth in this bill restore equal representation by ending gerrymandering, the process by which we draw congressional districts to favor one party over another, and by doing so, attack the sacred principle of equal representation. This creates a lot of bias in the House of Representatives down the hall. Take Michigan. In 2012, 14, and 16, the majority of Michiganders voted for one party at every level of government, but because of gerrymandering, the other party held a decisive advantage in the State House, in the State Senate, and in the Congressional House delegation. The For the People Act defends, restores the principle of equal representation. It does it by creating independent redistricting commissions, made up equally of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. That means candidates running for office actually have to use the power of their ideas, the persuasion of their personality, not a rigged system to hold power. Finally, the standards in this bill target corruption by addressing and eliminating conflicts of interest. Public servants should serve the public, not themselves. That includes members of Congress, the administration, and for the first time ever, the Supreme Court. This bill does that by striking down outrageous and corrupt conflicts of interest, strengthening divestment requirements, saying the president and vice president have to use a blind trust or limit their personal holdings to assets that don't pose a potential conflict of interest. It slows the revolving door between public service and K Street. It requires cabinet secretaries to recuse themselves from any issues in which a previous employer or client has a financial interest. The bill requires candidates for vice president or president to disclose their tax returns to prevent hidden conflicts of interest. Creates a code of ethics for the Supreme Court, something all other federal judges already have. None of these four principles is about helping one political party over the other. In fact, the provisions I've just laid out are wildly popular among the American people. An overwhelming supermajority of Democrats, Republicans, and independents support these four principles. It's as bipartisan as you can get. Even when it's broken into its specific provisions, 3 out of 4 Americans, Democrats, Republicans, independents, say they support these reforms because they believe in the vision of government of, by, and for the people. It's in our DNA. Americans believe that dark money should not be able to flood our elections. They believe billionaires and corporations should not be able to buy elections. They believe our nation is ill-served by corrupt conflicts of interest. They believe in the vision and ideals of our We the People Republic. And this bill is meant to do just one thing: make real the promise of democracy for all Americans. But powerful special interests don't want that. It threatens their hold on power by ending the ways they've rigged the system. And so they're all about striking down this bill. Why is that? We hear how Republican leaders say that they like this rigged system. Apparently, they like dark money in campaigns helping to buy elections. Apparently, they like targeting groups of individuals to prevent them from voting, taking us back to the racist efforts that existed before 1965 Voting Rights Act. Apparently, they like gerrymandering, thinking it's a source of political power down the hall, which political scientists say it is. But should it be principle or power that we fight for here? It should be the principle and the oath of office we took to uphold the Constitution. Standing before a crowd on a November afternoon to dedicate the Soldiers' National Cemetery at Gettysburg, 4 months after that momentous battle, President Lincoln remarked that they were gathered together to not only dedicate it to the men who had fallen in battle, but to the ideal for which they gave their lives: that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Today, it is our responsibility to carry that ideal forward and to ensure that government by the people, of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the United States of America. We in this chamber must pass the For the People Act. Thank you. I note the absence of a quorum.